Yeah, boy, the LJN. You don't mess with the LJN peoples. You don't. You technically don't mess with the LJN. Because they'll get you. Yeah, they'll get you back. But this wasn't a bad game. This was one of the wrestling games I remember growing up playing. Super Wrestlemania. And this came out on the Super Nintendo. It also came out on the Sega Genesis as well. But the one I remember growing up with was the Super Nintendo version. This right here hurts me. Look at it. Look at it. It had one thing missing, which was WWF Championship mode, where you could fight for the title, fight against all the other wrestlers. But you got who's of wrestlers here: Macho Man, Hogan, the Legion of Doom, Typhoon and Earthquake, Sid Justice, and I'm gonna tell you another thing that's crazy, and that's actually not even crazy. It's actually pretty cool that this version of the game had these particular wrestlers, but on the other version, hold on, an announcement. From Sarasota, Florida, weighing in at 245 pounds, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. And his opponent, weighing in at 468 pounds, one half of the natural disasters, Earthquake. And this crazy thing, I thought it was never actually said where they were from. Okay. Well, this is a match right here, as you can see. The Macho Man, yeah, Randy Savage, yeah, doing some suplex. Okay, but what I was saying, but like with the wrestlers on the Genesis game, they were a couple of the wrestlers. Okay, were still the same wrestlers, like Hogan, Macho. But no, it was Macho. But anyway, you had different. Ultimate Warrior was on that version. Papa Shango was on that version. IRS, R&R Slicer. Most of the wrestlers on this game were not on there. Earthquake wasn't on there, and so forth. And I always thought that was pretty cool that if you got a different version of the game, you got something different. And they also did that with Royal Rumble. They didn't stop doing it until Raw. When Raw came out, they had the same wrestlers on both versions. But it was crazy looking at them, especially like as a kid, because for me, I was, liking this and net. And and at that time when I was younger, I only played the Super NES version. I don't even think I even remember it was a Sega Genesis version until later on. And when I actually played the Sega Genesis version, I was like, hold up. You mean to tell me that the Sega Genesis version of the same fucking game, Super Wrestlemania, it was developed by a different company, but they had finishers? Yeah, this game doesn't have finishers, by the way. I used to kind of substitute, like, case more, that's right there, that's the Macho Man's elbow. I would just kind of do that as his elbow. Hogan had the running leg drop, because technically when they were running, it looked like an elbow drop, but it also kind of looked like a leg drop, so that would be Hogan's move. Jake the Snake had the back body drop. Who else? I used to, the Earthquake had his stuff. I basically leg drop again, but I would say it was his, his Earthquake move or whatever. Sid, I believe Sid, actually I gave Sid the body slam, I think, because I just was like, yeah. No, it wasn't. It was the arm drag, and I was like, okay, that's a power bomb, whatever. I kind of substituted to have it be a finish to matches like that. But no, like I said, the Sega Genesis version of this game had the fucking finishers. Like I said, it had the WWF Championship mode. This one, you just had one-on-one tag team and Survivor Series. That's it. You take it or leave it. That's all you had. Of course, with the next game, they did improve on it. Of course, you had finishers on Royal Rumble and so forth. But like I put this as like the staple point. And I used to play the shit out this game. I played this game a lot as well as Wrestlemania the arcade game, because I think around the same time, I think I had that one as well as this game. And I played both of them just as much as each one of them. And Wrestlemania arcade game is a classic game as well. But I think when it comes to when you play, especially for me being old school, like, oh, Earthquake's going for his move. That's it. It's over with. I think I didn't. Did I kick out? No, I didn't. I lost all year. But I think with the older wrestling games, especially if you were in a generation like for me, where we played wrestling games, especially when it came to games that didn't have a lot of stuff going on with it when it came to moves and finishers and stuff, and you had a limited roster. And I think this was like one of the games that kind of got a little in and out, because I think prior to this you maybe 6 or 8 wrestlers in a game, and you started to build the roster of what wrestlers would be. And then of course as future games came out, you started to have more wrestlers and so forth, and then you had more depth when it came to the moves and of course the finishers and signatures. And you know, as time went on, you started to have a whole lot of creativity going into these wrestling games that just really helped brighten it more and broaden it more, if you will. Just having games that, you know, he was like, ooh, I can actually go for this and I go for that. But this game, like I said, it's still fond memories of me just being able to play it. You know, just because it's just like I said, it's nostalgia, maybe, but also the fact, like I said, if you gotta look at the mindset of a child at that time, I was like, especially when I first played this game, I believe I was like, what, 11 or 12. So when I first played this fucking game, like, it just was a game that kind of was like, I'm looking at the fact that I can play as Macho Man, I can play as Jake the Snake, I can play as Hulk Hogan. And I think way before this, when I was about like 8 or 9, and I played Wrestlemania on the Nintendo, I feel this was this was definitely a big step up. Graphic wise, it was a step up. The movement of the wrestlers, the fact that you actually were doing wrestling moves, because people keep forgetting, you had like a couple like in and out moves on WrestleMania, but for overall fact, it was not just where you just went for wrestling, like a wrestling kind of feel. And like I said, this game had it all. It had that to me depth of what it was at that particular time as it relates to a wrestling game and what it could be. Of course, as time got on and I got older and I realized that there was shit going on overseas, like the Fire Pro series, and I realized, dude, it was wild. And then also, like, it was other games. Like, I remember another game I might talk about is called NCW, Nepcom Championship Wrestling. I forget, but Nepsum's Pro. Well, anyway, that game, which was actually a Japanese port, but I remember getting that from the Pun Shop, and it was released in America as Nepsum Championship Wrestling, and that game was fucking incredible. It blew my mind how that game looked graphically as well, and the fact that the wrestlers actually all had finishers and all that. Like I said, there was a couple of the NES games I remember playing. Like I said, of course, this game as well as Raw, as well as the Royal Rumble, those were all games that I thoroughly enjoyed. But yeah, man, I sit there and feel like if you're playing a good wrestling game, especially like, you know, nowadays, you know, you have your variety of games you can play. Oh, wait a minute. You know, go back old school. You know what I'm saying? Take a look at it. Let's get that 1 and that 2 and that 3. Ooh, yeah. Let's go back old school. But yeah, let's do this right here. And the winner, here's your winner, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. But yeah, guys, this has been me blabbing about Super WrestleMania for the Super Nintendo. But this is Jughead82 signing off. You guys have a good one.